Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode with Double A Crime Files. Today, I wanted to pay tribute to a lot of my listeners, and I realized that looking over the analytics over the past 2 weeks, that most of the listeners are from Ireland. So I have an Irish conspiracy. Well, it's not really a conspiracy. People made it out to be a conspiracy, but the truth is, it's just a big mystery. And some people here in the States have heard of it, but not a lot of people in the States nor in Ireland have actually heard of it. But I will tell you that it is over a lot of newspapers, and there's actually like a movie out on this case. So, what is this case I'm talking about? It is the case of Peter Bergmann. And you're like, what is that name? Well, guys, we don't know. It is definitely a falsified name. The man himself is truly and genuinely unknown, and this is just the only name that we have to go by. So I'll give you a quick rundown just of a generalized bit of information to get you familiar, and then we'll break down the timeline. So the gist of it is he checked into a hotel in Sligo City, and it was called Sligo City Hotel, and he checked in there on June the 12th, 2009. So this is about 11 years ago. Like I said before, his true identity has never been established. He always used the bus. One time he did use a taxi. He was caught on the hotel CCTV leaving each morning that he was staying there, and he was also caught on various other CCTV around the city. He was carrying a plastic bag with him every day that he left. He would go across the city and he would dispose of the contents of the bag in random places and then come back to the hotel with the bag empty. He would return each night and he would just smoke a cigarette or eat, but he was generally alone. On the morning of June 14th, he left the hotel in a taxi, asking to be driven somewhere where he could have a quiet swim. So the taxi driver then took him to a place called Roses Point, which is a beach on the Atlantic coast. Bergmann then got out of the taxi, he looked around, smiled, and then asked to be driven back to the city. The next morning, there was reports that he was acting strange in the cafe of the hotel. He would take bits of piece of paper from his pockets. He would read them and then methodically tear them up. And then he would distribute them into different trash bins, never in the same place. Later that afternoon, he got back onto a bus and he rode the bus back to the beach. There was a lot of witnesses that had saw him walking the beach, but never seen him leaving. But following morning, he was found naked and dead on that beach. His clothing was scattered amongst the shore. He never gave his real name, and he removed all of his identifying labels from every article of clothing that he had. And he took very elaborate measures to conceal his identity. So that's the short and condensed version. So based on just that short version, what do you think, Arianne?
I just want to know so did they ever perform an autopsy on his like dental records to see exactly who he is per se? Because I mean, you could do that. You can hide your identity all you want, but you can't hide your fingerprints, nor can you hide your dental records unless you knock out all your teeth.
That I looked on several Irish sites and I couldn't find anything that would relate to that of what we would do here in the States. The most that I got was movie reviews. And I'm like, well, that's not dental records. That's a freaking IMDb. So I could not, I tried to scour the Irish sites.
So this is a real case, but
it is definitely a real case. And it's a real mystery. Just on the basic general information, that's a lot of what I gave you is most of the information that anybody that covers the case will say, because they don't go to the Irish sites and like decode what the Irish lights are saying. So anybody that would mention it on their YouTube or on their podcast will just tell you that and leave it at that. And based on that, seeing how he was secretive and seeing how he kept reading notes, and then knowing that the documentaries that we watch and the movies that we watch and just the information that we know, I think of him in my heart and in my soul. I feel like he's part of a secret organization, maybe the CIA, maybe something like that. He's definitely not an assassin, but he is someone that needs to be concealed. And I think that his time was up, and he wanted to off himself before he was off. That's just my thought, my assumption.
Well, I mean, it could be that way, but then again, why would he try so hard to conceal himself?
Because he doesn't
Regard,
need to be found out.
I mean, regardless if he's dead, they can't come after him.
It's not about them coming after him. If he's dead and there's enough information on him, it will lead back to his secret organization, and that could be the downfall. So regardless of if
I think
anybody's
some.
after him or
I
not,
think. Well, I think someone was after him if he's concealing himself that well.
someone was onto him and knew his true identity, and he was evading that. I just feel like he was really trying to still protect something or someone. He was never with anyone. The only person he ever was alone with was a taxi driver. So
Did they post a picture of him?
there are pictures. I will put pictures up, and I even have a picture of him being dead, just his face being dead. And I'm like, with all these pictures, still no one identified him, and he,
Someone would
you know.
identify him.
So I'm gonna get a little bit deeper and kind of break down the timeline, and then we'll get back to our opinions at the end of this. Okay, so the journey started in Derry, which is Northern Ireland. He did board a mid-afternoon bus to Sligo City. It was at 8:26 p.m. that he took a taxi from after he got off the bus. He took a taxi to the center of town. That alerted locals that he wasn't of Irish because it was a 10-minute walk. So why would you take a taxi? So that let everybody else know that he was a foreigner. He did at the time carry two bags. The first hotel he approached was full, so he kept on searching, and then he found room at the Sligo City Hotel, which was on Quay Street. He paid for 3 nights up front. He left a home address of, and y'all, I'm not of your country. I'm very southern, so excuse this, but it looks like Inksterston. I have no clue, but Inksterston 154472, and then he put a B in Vienna, Austria, and everyone said that that address matched his German accent. So that kind of threw me off. That kind of made me feel that he was of some kind of secret importance. And then he was using his own pen, and they count that with that same pen that he used, he wrote down the name of Peter Bergmann. But he did not provide any identification, and identification was not asked to be obtained. So he was allowed to just get the room just paying cash. So before he even actually went into his room, he went to the general post office at 10:49 a.m. There he bought 8 stamps and some airmail stickers. Then he continued to run errands around the town. And then he came back to the hotel to eat and smoke outside. He stayed to himself. He was genuinely polite, but he was firm in everything that he said and did. Let's see. He called for a taxi on Sunday afternoon. It was probably about 2. That's when he asked the taxi to take him to the beach. And there, the beach is known for its dramatic view, and it's on a peninsula. So it was I guess, a very beautiful sight. He seemed satisfied with the view and everything. Then he asked the driver to take him back to the hotel, which was 15 minutes away. Then he spent the evening alone. Just after 1 p.m. on Monday, he checked out of the hotel and he returned his keys to the reception area. He left one of his original bags. It was a purple bag, and they dubbed it the bag for life. And then he had what appeared to be a new black luggage case. He then took the long route around to the bus station. At the bus station, he stopped in the doorway of the shopping area. He waited and he was acting like he was going to turn around and leave, but instead he carried on to the bus station. He then read more scraps of paper from his pockets and then threw them away again in separate bins. The bus departed at 2:20 to go to the beach. There, 16 people saw him on the beach and claimed that he wasn't trying to hide himself. He was remembered as being happy and he was formally dressed. He was greeting all the strangers that came in contact with him. The next a.m., a local, and I later found out the man's name was Arthur Kinsella, and his son, they were jogging along the sand, and it was like at the end of a foggy day, so the fog was settling, and there they saw a washed up body of a thin, middle aged man, seeming to be about the age of 65, and he had closely cropped gray hair. And then they realized he was dead, but who was he? No one knew who he was. He was naked and he had no clothes, he had nothing around him. So who is this dead man they were wondering about? It was later established that the death was caused of cardiac arrest. So when I heard that death was caused of cardiac arrest, and I saw that he kept reading scraps of paper, throwing them away in different bins. That way it'd be harder to piece them together. He took off all tags from his clothing. He did not have ID. He paid in cash. He didn't use any kind of card. Cardiac arrest really just stung out. It's really stuck out to me because typically people in that secretive field, the way they go out is through a poisonous pill. You swallow this pill and it kills you, and it can mimic natural causes. So I'm thinking that was, his out, and he took this pill and got into like the shallow end of the water to let it brush him up. That's just my assumption.
Well, I mean, there's nothing really there we can go by. That's the problem. There's not information except what he did.
Yeah, and all of this is 98% of the information that we have is from CCTV and then the accounts of the few people that he did come in contact with. So
I mean,
it's not a cut and dry case.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really to go by if it's not his real identity. He's completely erased his identity. They didn't check his dental record, so I mean, there's nothing you could really go by. Now,
So
if
we left.
once they check the dental records, they can identify who he is. Because even if the last time that he got his teeth checked was when he was in high school or a teenager, they can still identify him.
See, that this is where our Irish listeners, please weigh in on this, because this is from your country and some of you may know more about this case. Some of you may have stories passed down, like family may have known something. Now, this is 11 years ago, so this is not that old of a case. It's fairly old, but it's still not old. My son is the same age. My son was born in the same year. So, like, you look at that, he's not old, but he's been around long enough. So this case is still fairly new. So somebody out there knows something, and I, I'm I'm really I really feel like it's some kind of, maybe he's in ties like with the German Nazis. I know there's still some Nazis around, some
They
closeted
know
Nazis.
there's people that know more of his identity than they put out in the news media.
Yeah.
because I mean, you can hide so much, and there's so many holes, and there's so many ways that you can figure out his identity, especially in
This one,
that year.
and so if he's this middle-aged man and he had enough money to pay for that many rooms at night, you are from the hotel business. You know that a couple of nights at a hotel is a pretty buck. For one night you can pay up to $200, if not
Hmm.
more. So for 3 nights in a very popping, booming city, that he had to have money.
He took all his
So
money out, it seems.
yeah, it's like he didn't deal with cards. He dealt with everything straight paper. So with him being this old, this him having this obviously looks like he had a lot of money. He was dressed very formal. He seemed very business-like and together. I feel like he had to have some children.
I don't know, because it seems like he's a loner.
Well, when I post these photos, I put them on. I keep forgetting to upload my case photos to the Instagram. I aren't even supposed to be in charge of Instagram, so I don't think about it. But I haven't had pictures up there, so I'm gonna try to remember to put my pictures up there and on Facebook, guys, and they'll definitely be on the YouTube. But if you look at these pictures, I mean, just as a general speaking, he just looks like every older white male that you see walking around in the grocery store or walking down the street. It's like there's nothing remarkable about him that makes him stand out. He just blends in. So I wouldn't be, if I would have saw somebody like him walking around, I wouldn't think nothing different, you know. I wouldn't think, like, there's some people that have like these piercing blue eyes and this beautiful flowing hair. They just pop and you're like, wow, and you can't forget them. But this person, I don't mean to be rude when I say it, but he looks quite forgettable, if you understand what I mean.
She's very normal.
Yes, very normal. Like, it's just not somebody that I would, I could get you a sketch of, you know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if with all of it, like there's something hidden that either, you know, only Ireland news outlets know, or what, you can't really just go word of mouth, honestly,
Yeah,
because I mean, it's so vague that stories can get like so mixed up and pushed together.
and this, guys, is why we don't go with conspiracy theories. We cannot base any of our research on conspiracies. We have to go with facts. Even if it's just a little bit of facts, we have to stick with facts because once we hit the conspiracy part, then the case becomes invalid.
It just
So,
snowballs once you put
yeah.
conspiracy in it.
And so the most we'll ever do is just discuss our opinions and what we may think, but we cannot base anything on a conspiracy. I strongly feel like he was a part of something that and got caught up in something. And Arian, I'm feeling like you're not on board with that. I feel like you're thinking that he's going a different way.
Well, I mean, it's just for you to go to that extent. I mean, something was chasing him. Either
And we
that,
just don't
or
know.
he knew he was fixing to die.
See, that wasn't some of the conspiracies that I was trying to avoid. A lot of people said was like he was like cancerous and had all this stuff, and he was just
Well, I mean,
that was his
there's a lot of
identity.
medical stuff that he doesn't, that we don't know. And like I said, like I don't want to lead toward that way, but there's an endless amount of possibilities without knowing his true identification. Because without, one, he put out a fake name, so that means he doesn't want anybody to find out who he is. But yet, unless he knocked out all his teeth, they didn't look at dental records.
So when you say that, like he didn't want anybody to know who he was, based on that and based on people thinking like he had a deadly disease, do you think it's possible that he did that and faked his identity so he can die in peace without his family knowing.
Probably. He probably
So
just
you think
didn't want to burden his family. So if we go that route, and if he did have family, say he
Mhm.
had a decent sized family, the typical sized family,
Mhm.
then he probably cared enough about them that he doesn't want to upset them and make them sad about the whole
I can agree.
situation. If we go that route,
Yeah.
then it would be he just wanted to enjoy his last bit of life and conceal his identity. Now,
But what's with the running errands part though? If he wanted to enjoy, why would he do errands? Why would he buy 8 stamps?
well, I mean, he could be sending out notices, he could be sending out letters, he could be
Like
tying.
final goodbye?
Probably that's
Mm.
probably why there's no. So imagine if you were a family member, received a letter from the person that passed. It said, I did this, please do not look for me, I've concealed my identity. If you see me on the news, don't go into the news outlets. you
So
would
they're forced to life of secrecy.
you would probably, he probably told his family, hey, if you happen to see my face on TV, because I'm pretty sure it would have been in on headlines or newspapers or online.
Yeah, it's still headlining now.
So, I mean, he probably told them, like I said, if we go that route, he probably told them, hey, that's me. I just don't want you to worry. This is what happened.
So
That's
what do
only
you
if we
get?
go in that route.
What do you get with the many days that he was found looking at scraps of paper, tearing them up, and putting them in separate bins? What do you think about that?
Well, like I said, I don't know the person, and without knowing his true identity, I don't know anything about his psyche. I don't know anything about his previous. We don't know if that's his normal behavior. Nobody there knows if that was his normal behavior, and nobody can confirm it.
Because he's not actually of Irish descent. It just happened in Ireland.
Exactly. So nobody there really knows who he is. So we don't know if he had an OCD disorder. We don't know if he's that type of person that just, if that's just his normal everyday activity. We don't know that.
It could be, and I'm just shooting out an idea. It could be, with him being that old, much older, he could be forgetful, and he could have been writing down the next thing to do. Okay, I'm about to do it and shred it, or I just did it and shred it. It could be like his little to do thing, maybe, possibly,
Yeah, like
but
I said, that's it, without knowing his actual true identity, we don't know how
right.
he was before this all happened. We don't know like what his normal day-to-day stuff is. We're going on the counts of what people seen and what people may think is weird. I mean, people think that, how, like, for example, people wear their watch on the opposite of their main hand. So if you're right-handed, you wear your watch on your left hand. If you're left-handed, you wear your watch on your right hand. Well, I wear my watch.
Really?
Yeah, you
I
subconsciously
wear
just
mine
do
on
that.
either hand. I
So
just put it on whatever hand I feel like.
I normally put my watch normally on my dominant hand, which is my right hand. So what people may think, like, again, what people may think is weird,
Hmm.
okay? Like me, there's some people that have to touch a doorknob so many times. Even though I check my lock, I get thinking, oh my God, my door is unlocked. I have to go do it again and again and again. And I do it subconsciously doing it. That's probably what he may have done. We don't know.
Hmm. Sorry, guys. I'm eating. I'm hungry. A bologna sandwich or a ham sandwich. I've only seen stills from CCTV. I want to see actual motion. I want to see how he's walking. I want to see his behavior, because even though we're not in the BAU, we kind of know that, what kind of behavioral like things are. Like we can kind of tell if he's doing something, whether it's a mental thing, if it's a habitual thing,
It's kind
or
of
if it's
like
at the habit.
that lady that passed away in that water tower that's above the hotel, and there was a
Mm-hmm.
hotel security camera on the elevator, and she was perfectly fine going into the elevator, but then next thing you know, it's like something shocked her right then and there,
Mm-hmm.
and she was peeking around corners all of a sudden. She was like, it just hit her. There was nobody around her in the cameras. There was nobody
And
around
that was
her.
creepy.
And
I
then
wonder if she was on drugs.
I don't know. Like I said, she was perfectly normal. Like she was walking normal. She wasn't, doing anything. And with her true identity, like her real name was out, and all family members and friends said that that's not a normal behavior for her. And then you're talking about this small, less than 130-pound girl, a young lady, opening up a water tank, like the top of the water tank, and then putting herself in there. So there was just,
That's definitely an issue. Yeah.
you know, so, and what I'm going through with this is we know her real identity. So we knew that that was not a, that was a
Her
very,
true name.
yeah, that was a very suspicious behavior. So with this person, we don't know if all of his so-called suspicious behavior is really suspicious or if it was just his normal.
True.
Because if he did have medical issues, it could, you know, like do something to his brain. He could, we may never know. He may have OCD. He may have some other mental issues. He may be forgetful. He may be like all this stuff. We don't,
And
or if he was under drugs, there was
and
nothing.
the only thing they notated was cardiac arrest. They did not notate. From my readings, there was no kind of defensive
So
wounds. There
they
was
did an
actually no wounds to the
autopsy.
body.
So they did an autopsy.
But they didn't leave much information for me to say a full autopsy. All they said was that they determined it was cardiac arrest. So they didn't leave me anything for me to believe that they actually did their job. Because how do you come to cardiac arrest without coming to something else that could let us know who he is?
Yeah, especially since everybody was trying to figure out who he is.
So unless they were paid off, I still okay, guys, listening. I need you to comment either in our Instagram or on our Facebook or tweet us or email us your opinion on this. Was he a part of a secret organization? Was he being chased? Was he just offing himself? Was he hiding his identity because he had an alien disease and he did not want his family to find out? Let us know what you think. And if you're our Irish listeners, let us know what you know because this case is interestingly vague and bleak and weird and mysterious.
So here's the thing too. If you guys think that you know what it is, we also would need some kind of proof. We just prefer not to hear rumors
Yeah.
or hear, like hearsay or and stuff like that. Like we need to have some kind of concrete evidence that we can go by because we don't want to put out fake anything and it snowball even more and we could possibly get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
So
We don't want fake news. We want truth. And if there's anything that we cannot mention on air, we won't. Did I just freeze? I'm sorry. Um, but if it's something that you just want to tell us hush hush, we can do that. But we would just like to know.
yeah, well, I just want to know why they didn't do dental records. Like I keep going back to it, like why. That's the surefire way to look at somebody when they, even if they had work done on their teeth.
I don't know when the last time I went to a dentist was. I was probably like 10 years ago.
Like I said, as long, even if the last time you went to the dentist was back in middle school or high school, the point that you start getting your adult teeth, you start making that um it stays there. You've been identified.
Oh, so I did go to one dental place when I first moved to Nashville. I've been in Nashville 11 years. I went to that place, and then that place shut down and left. So how are they going to get my records if the place is gone?
They still have it online.
And plus, you know what? Every time I go to the doctor, they take my blood. I'm sure the government has my blood. The government knows who I am.
The government knows
Even
90% of the people. But I mean, there
you
is
could burn my
just,
face off in my genitalia, and the government will say, "Oh, that's still Amber."
but I mean, they can't really determine what he passed away from without an autopsy. Because you can't just look at a person and say, oh, you died of cardiac arrest.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Guys, I'm gonna keep trying to scour these Irish websites. I'm even gonna try to look in the German. I never thought till we had this conversation to look in German sites. But guys, it's hard for somebody that's just English only to decipher these sites. So I'm gonna try and get more information back on Sunday, but literally all I have is what everybody else has ever researched this case has. So I don't know if I can get anything different than what anybody else says. But I'm with Arian. There's got to be. How the hell do you come up with cardiac arrest, but you can't do a dental record? I'm with.
That's why I honestly believe they knew who he was. They just didn't release it to the public.
That just takes me back to he's got to be about an organization. Maybe he was the part of German government. I'm still thinking maybe he's related to a Nazi.
I don't know.
Nazis are still around, right?
I don't feel that way. Like normally I would feel strongly if somebody was part of something, but I don't know. There's too many holes for me to jump to that.
You don't feel like it's that deep.
Mm-mm. I really don't.
I just don't feel like I don't feel like it's that simple.
I mean, it's not simple. I don't think simply of it, but I don't think that deeply of it either.
Guys, help us out. We're not pitting our opinions against each other saying, well, your opinion's wrong. Our opinions are opinions. But we wanna just weigh
It just
in
goes
and give
different.
us our
Just because there's different avenues you could take. Like I said, if you go through the fact that he had family, you can go through that avenue and there'll be many causes. If you go
yeah.
through, even the conspiracy avenue, there's many places that you can, many thoughts and opinions that you can conclude through there. And then if you go through, well, if he was running away from somebody that could hurt him or his family,
Yeah.
I mean, there's multiple things. It's just they know who he is. They just either they've released it to that country's like journalists in that country, and the US just hasn't deciphered it, I guess.
This
Or
is what I'm gonna do. Guys, while she's talking, I'm gonna send her a picture of him because she, like I said, she didn't know I was doing this case. So I'm gonna send her a picture on Facebook Messenger while she talks, and then we're gonna see based on what he looks like to her, what she thinks. Okay, continue talking. Sorry.
I mean, there's a lot of questions, like a lot, and I'm getting like my mind's going blank at the moment because until we know his actual identity, there's really nothing we can go by.
All right. It's it's not an easy thing to basically say what we think happened because what we think happened doesn't really matter in this scenario because there's nothing we can say, you know. I'm trying to send this stuff, but you know how ads be like.
Yeah, there's just way too many holes. And like normally I'm okay with holes, but that's when I know the person's name, like real name, and look them up.
Yeah.
But other than that, I
All right. I am sending her these now. So she's looking at this stuff now. I just sent her 3 little things, and I'm gonna include these photos that I've sent her. I'm gonna include them in our YouTube, and maybe she'll post them onto our Instagram, and we'll put them onto Facebook and stuff like that,
yeah,
so
there's
you guys can see them.
yeah, he's very normal looking, and from his stance, it's like he knew something was gonna happen. Like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
But like again, like I said, I don't know his real name, so I can't even look him up and look up his past.
he's such a normal looking guy. Like, is his face is really unrememberable. That's not a word, but you know what I'm trying to say. Um,
It doesn't
if I was in
pop.
Ireland, yeah, if I was in Ireland at the same time he was walking around, he just blends in. Like, I would not know that anything was different about him, except for like when the people say he was acting funny. I might notice somebody acting a little weirder than I'm used to seeing, but I just wouldn't be able to recall his face.
But yet again, since we're both Americans, what do we count as weird?
Exactly. Okay, look at the photo of him deceased. So you see how he looks. Um he doesn't look the same as he did when he was walking around.
Hmm.
He To me he looks younger deceased than he did when he was alive.
So we know for a fact that was him,
We
right?
know for a fact that's what they say. But he just, to me, it looks like a different person. I mean, if you put some glasses on him, maybe he could pass as his grandson. But it just doesn't look like the same person to me.
It looks like it to me. His hair is
And
just not as messy.
and then they say cardiac arrest, no defensive wounds. Look at his face. Like he looks like he got in a fight. Like somebody punched him in the eye. He looks bruised. His face is discolored.
Yeah.
His lips even look a little swollen. Like, guys, when y'all see these photos, let us know. Like, I'm so interested in hearing your feedback about this.
It just seems really odd.
It is. And I know I keep hitting y'all with cases that leave you saying, what the fuck? But this is what I have to deal with when I get into the realm of cold cases and unsolved mysteries. It's always a what the fuck? That's what it is. And this here, there's no ending in this. There's no light unless whoever's hiding all these secrets comes forward.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
It's definitely not. But I'm sure somebody did come forward that's a death sentence. I want to know who this man is. You know, this case reminds me of, oh my God, what is his name? The one that hijacked the plane, took all the money but never used it. The money was spread everywhere.
I don't know.
My people listen and know. Give me a second, guys, because Arianne is not helping me, so I have to Google real fast.
Yeah, I'm not even looking.
DB Cooper. That's this case reminds me of the DB Cooper case. And Arianne, since you're not familiar, Google the DB Cooper case and look into it. It is bizarre. It happened in 1971, and some guy just like demanded all this money. He hijacked the plane, demanded all this money, got the case of money, jumped out the plane. the money in the briefcase is like all over the beach, but he's gone. And it's not DB. They call him DB Cooper. That's not even his name. There's a sketch of him, but there's no photos of him. So like
Hmm.
you look into that, and it's just an unidentified man.
This is just, it's
Yeah,
puzzling. Like my mind is literally blank because you can't just, what is it? You can't even narrow it down.
you can't. You can't even say who you think did it. I got guys. I feel like he took a pill that's gonna kill him. I feel like he's a part of an organization, and I feel like he tried to cover up his death. I really do. Like I just feel in my heart I'm right.
Well, his face does look beat up. So I mean,
Yeah, I just don't see by looking at his face.
if
I'm not
his
seeing cardiac
if
arrest.
his face got beat up, he's that old. It could be a possibility he got a cardiac arrest, had a heart attack of some sort during a fight. People took his clothes.
I don't believe that at all. He didn't get too close with people like that for them to take his clothes.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's the thing. We don't know. We don't know about how it is, where his, like how he really truly acted in his last moments. We have witness accounts, but I could be a so-called witness. He's so normal looking, I could mistake him for somebody else.
yeah. Yeah, guys, this case is another one of those that makes you want to hit your head against the wall. Like, I wish there was
And how did they
something
find
concrete.
these so-called witnesses?
Exactly. That's what I'm gonna have to dig deeper, and guys, y'all gonna have to help me. Some of this stuff I don't understand. I can't pronounce most of this stuff, and it sounds stupid. But I do have a question for Arian. If you were, if you and I switched places, and I did solved and you did unsolved, how would you be handling
I'll
these
be
cases?
no, I'll be pissed. I need an end. I need an end. I need to know if that when that person got sent to jail, when they got executed. I need to know. No.
This
Mm-mm.
is why she does the solve cases, because she can go from point A to all the way to Z and give you the reasoning and straight facts and close the
Police
case immediately.
reports and be
Yeah.
good to go. But like, I honestly cannot stand witness accounts. And the only
And
reason why I cannot stand witness accounts, there's numerous times where witnesses mistake a person,
yeah,
or
completely.
they just say it just to say it.
Hmm.
So
See,
how
for
do they get
me,
these witnesses?
right. There's so many questions. So for me, y'all, I handle everything of the unknown, the unsolved, everything unknown. And the question that a lot of people would ask me is, why don't you go deeper? And I look at them in my head, I'm giving them the side eye, because I'm like, how the fuck do you go deeper on vagueness? How do you go deeper
So here's the
when you don't
thing. There
have anything?
you can go deeper on a lot of things. It's just how deep are you willing to go, and are you willing to, because there's stuff sometimes that you cannot dig up. But
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I come across that I can't click, because I will become a target. And a lot of the things, a lot of the information that I need to access is on a part of the web that could get me into federal trouble. So, how do I go deeper legitimately without worrying about who's going to be posted outside my house watching my every move? So, guys, I can't go too deep. I can go as deep as I can without hitting certain things. But you have to understand that a lot of the cold cases and a lot of the unsolved mysteries, some of them are mysterious for a reason and cold for a reason. Not everything is just the we don't know who done it. Some of it is they know who did it, and they better not catch you finding out who did it.
and we're not an investigation team anyways. We
Yeah.
don't go out asking questions to these people. a lot of times, a lot of our cases are international or of different states
even
that we
older.
can't just, yeah, we just can't, go over there and start asking questions because this is just us talking. It's not even, we're not even investigating, and we're not going to do that at that point. To
Yeah.
that point, we're just not, because I mean,
And I keep saying,
it
don't confuse us with the YouTube people or the other podcasters that do the interviews, that do the countdowns and do this and that. It's cool that they do that, but we are not them. We are best friends that have a conversation. So if I don't want to go deep, or if she doesn't want to go deep, we don't have to, because that's not what we made this podcast for. So if you want something that crazy, you can join the black web, the dark web, the this and that web. But we're not doing that. We're just talking about what we think is crazy. And a lot of these cases are batshit crazy,
mm-hmm, I
especially that
completely
last
agree.
one. And I like talking about the crazy stuff, and I don't want to get too deep into it. I don't, because I have to live with everything that we research stays with us. It doesn't just end when we end the podcast. It stays with us. So you think about it. There's a lot of, one of my favorite YouTubers that did these cases. She quit YouTube because it stayed with her to the point she couldn't even close her eyes. And she was doing a lot of missing person cases. And I have to deal with missing persons myself. So think about how this will stick with me. I'm a mother of three. And in the past year alone, you know how many kids have been kidnapped and sex trafficked? People have to live with that. So we don't have to go that deep if we don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, like I said, we just research what we can and what we want to put out there, and that's about it. We're not going to go out and ask questions. We're asking questions to each other, yeah,
Yeah.
to get each other's opinion. That's about it. We're not set in stone, this is what happened, unless it's a solved mystery that is in the police report that I tell you guys.
Right. We just want
That's
to
it.
bring awareness to what's out there, because you probably never heard of anybody that we said, but now you're aware, and this also helps you be aware of your surroundings. Because some of these cases, how many times have you been oblivious just walking outside, just going to your car, going to check the mail? How many times have you not noticed who's behind the fence, who's behind a tree, who's walking, smoking, and maybe side eyeing you?
And this also goes with, if you guys go to different countries, honestly, and I tell this to everybody, research where you're going, learn their culture, learn what is proper and what is not. Keep yourself safe, because even if you are an American, and I cannot stand it when Americans do this, when if they think something happens to them internationally, they think that the US is just going to step in and do whatever they can to get them either out of trouble, or if they get hurt, save them. It's not going to happen, you guys. It takes years and years and years and years, and sometimes it's not going to happen. Like, you just have to be really aware where you are, what you're doing, research, do the culture research.
And be respectful to the country. Don't bring anything upon yourself that is unnecessary. Don't be arrogant, and don't go into a different country with American privilege. America has more privilege than these other countries. We can do a lot of shit, and it slides, but over there you could get beheaded for that shit. So be respectful. Not
And that's the reason why we tell you guys international stuff too, because we want you guys, and we've said this numerous times, we want you guys to be very open-minded, because it happens in other countries. I've spoken a lot about Japanese culture, and And if you look it up, Japan is known as one of the most cleanest, most technological advanced countries. And you think, oh, well, all they do is work, do anime. Um, yeah, they're kind of weird, but everybody is everybody thinks of Tokyo as or
Um,
Japan as Tokyo and like the major cities. And even in the major cities, murders happen.
yeah.
And they're not, you're not like invincible to that. Like you can be a target in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Stay on the beating path, guys. I don't have much more to say about this unsolved mystery because it's still, of course, unsolved. I can try to look more into some German sites, but I'm not gonna make any promises on it because if there was anything they wanted us to know, it would have been found on all the 50 sites I searched. So, but we'll get the photos up. I'm sure Ariane will get them the Instagram going, and I'll work on the YouTube stuff like that, so you guys can see how normal looking he is. You can see how he looked when he was dead. You could tell me if it looks like cardiac arrest to you. Give us your opinions because your opinions matter, even if facts. We like to know what you think and all that, and don't think that your opinion is stupid or wrong because it's just an opinion. There's no right or wrong in an opinion, and this will give us a conversation. Do be supportive on our Facebook. Do like and post because we do want to add people to join our Facebook Live and converse with us. So do more on your part on getting into the group with the family. We do look to start adding co-hosts soon. So if you would like to be a co-host, comment on our Instagram, tweet us, comment on our Facebook, email us at double.a.gmail.com. Let us know. Did I do that right? I
You
did.
completely did that wrong. It's
It's
double.a.crimefiles@gmail.com.
I knew it. I knew I was doing something wrong. It's 10:47. Girl, I do this every night and I'm getting my medicine ready. Guys, you know by now I'm absent minded. I'm getting medicine ready. I got my things. But anyway, y'all know how to get a hold of us. Do so. We want to hear from you and we want to see who's going to be our featured guest. Could it be you? Could it be you? Who could it be?
It can't be me because I'm already here.
And it can't be your husband. No, it should not be.
I'm telling you
Dan,
guys, we would be on here for 3 hours, just him talking and us
yeah.
not like doing anything otherwise. And he does not know the meaning of no conspiracies.
Oh my God. So Dan, if you're listening, um, love you, but no.
Well, I could probably get him on with a script like no
It's not
conspiracies,
gonna
like
fix it.
smack him when he's starting to get to that point. But I mean, it just all depends. But he
Guys,
has he has listened to our podcast. And he did want me to tell you guys this though. There are a lot of cultures, especially in Japanese cultures, because as you guys can tell, a lot of my stuff is coming from Japan. Um, if there is a killing and it goes back to the samurai ways, they believe that the sword that they killed, like the souls linger in that sword and it gets passed down from generation to generation.
that's creepy.
So a lot of them have a lot of what is that called, superstitions. So we don't know why things are done. We don't know the reasons behind it. We could search the cultures and stuff all we want. It could be multiple things. It just depends on the family itself. But he did want me to say that, and I kept on forgetting. And that goes back to, what was it, the eye, where they took out the killer that took out the eyes because he felt that
Oh yeah, was
um
it the Otoku?
no, that wasn't the Otoko.
No, that
It
was
was
the
this
very
last
first one.
one. It was this last one, the
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Ukrainian guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Andre.
Andre, yeah. Alright, guys. So we're gonna. Oh, if we ever cave and allow him to be part of the podcast, we will vlog that. And that would definitely be on our YouTube. So you can see her hit him with a rolled up newspaper like he's a dog. And I'm going to laugh my butt off. It's going to be hilarious. But I don't think we're going to let him be a part. He's just going to be one of our biggest fans for right now. Love you, Dan, so much. But no. No.
So, and the disclaimer, you guys, any of this that we do or say, or will say basically on either one of our podcasts, either my solved ones or her unsolved cases, we have nothing to do with the cases. We just happen to come across them, or people let us know of the names. We are not part of the investigation team, and honestly, a lot of these cases, they're very explicit and very gory to a point, especially mine.
Yeah.
So
Mine.
I would suggest, if we have any young listeners,
Get parent
like
approval.
get a parent approval, because this is very age. This is not
it's
a
it's so
13-year-old
inappropriate.
old listener
But
kind
to
of
go
age.
to piggyback off what she said, I did mark our podcast, at least on my end, because we have two different podcasts that we try to fuse together. So if you're listening on to my Anchor page, I know for a fact that mine is set for not suitable for children. And then when we upload them to YouTube, the YouTube channel itself is set not suitable for children. So search it. Kids can't be a part of it if it's a part of if the kids are on kids YouTube. The only way that kids can get to it is if you, the parent, put it on for them. So I don't know how Arianne has it on her specific podcast, but I
Yeah,
did
mine's
take.
under explicit, but
Yeah.
just to make sure, because I mean, I know kids can get away around things,
But
but
don't blame us for your nightmares.
yeah, I mean, we're in no shape or form part of any of these cases. We just happen to look them up.
All
Okay,
right.
we're
I
not
think that's
associated.
right. So that's it. Enough of our talking, and we'll get more info. I cannot wait for our Sunday. Um, I got something. I have something I want to talk to you guys about on Sunday. My birthday's on Monday, so it's gonna be tied into my birth month. We're gonna have fun on Sunday, but Ariane might be leading that show on Sunday, but I would probably put a point out there. But until Sunday, you guys have a safe and vigilant night. And Double A is signing out.
Night.
Night.